The release of the footage of the surgical strikes comes as a surprise to many. Why wasn't this footage released in the first instance? Why has it taken so much time for it to take place? And if it's being released now, why is it being released? Joining us now for his views on this, Arun Shourie. Sir, thanks very much for speaking to us. Now, sir, there's this big online debate which is happening that apparently you had said at a book launch recently that these were farcical strikes or something of that sort, which by the looks of it, prompted the government to release this footage. What exactly did you say?
I mean, I'll be too self-important if I think the two words of mine will make the government scurry around to release footage. But you see, when this strike took place, I had said at that time that that's very good, and it is. These things happen often. They happened in Atalji's time, to my personal knowledge, and so on. But you should not be using them like this of हमने मुंह तोड़कर जवाब दे दिया और उनकी हड्डी तोड़ दी और पाकिस्तान को सबक सिखा दिया, for two reasons. One, if you say I have got a 56-inch chest, the other fellow will have to show also that he has a 56-inch chest. And second, that actually speaking, this will not address the problem that is there, which is infiltration, as has been shown by subsequent events. So the point was that the strike is there, but what you have used it, the manner in which you have used the strike for propaganda purposes, for building up a self-image, that reduces an essential instrument to a farce. That is how it became, a strike became a farcical strike. That was the point.
And where does this leave the Indian Army? I mean, this is an entirely apolitical institution. They are not meant to fulfill a political cause, whatever it may be. And more than a year, well over a year after these strikes, this footage is being released. What does it, what sort of signal would it send to the soldiers who actually did this?
I mean, poor fellows that, we do our duty and then we are used in this way. Take a good example. In Bhutan, they were Ulfa people. They were knocked out. What did we say? What did our army say? No. It's the Bhutanese army which has done it. Mm-hmm. Similarly, you remember in Manipur, 17
yes.
soldiers were killed.
Yes.
Our people went in to the camp of NSCN in Myanmar. I am sure, and you know these things much better than I do, that it would have been done with the tacit understanding with the Myanmar army. That please look the other way.
Yes.
So we knocked out that thing. No problem. So when you came back and then started shouting and screaming, I have destroyed the terrorist camps and so on, then the Myanmar government and the Myanmar army were forced to say, no, nothing like this happened.
Right.
So actually speaking, these things are done because you want either to have a targeted action, mm-hmm. or you want to send a signal to, let's say, the security forces of Pakistan that your attacks on Uri or Pathankot and so on will not go unchallenged. Then you send a signal, that's all. You don't start using it for propaganda purposes.
Right.
That was my point.
Right. Do you believe that an effort is being made to keep the surgical strikes alive in the public mindset ahead of 2019?
Yes, this is all election driven. Everything is election driven, unfortunately, and they don't realize the consequences. I mean, this surgical strike is one thing, but they don't realize the consequences of, mm-hmm. let's say, this aggressive Hindu card. Mm-hmm. On that has a thunderclap effect in Kashmir. You kill one truck driver here, and they say they look upon themselves now not as Kashmiris first, but as Muslims first, who must now be Muslims of a different type, of a Wahhabi type. Mm-hmm. So is that a good thing? So we must reflect on these things. Governments must reflect on these things. And unfortunately, there is neither government nor policy. It is event driven. So one day you have an inspiration, okay, ceasefire. Then they kill 2-3 people. Then, okay, no ceasefire. And that's also proclaimed as now great muscle. But actually speaking, that only shows that you are event driven. And that means that what you do is in the hands of the other fellow.
Right.
So that is the position today.
Sir, footage of military operations, special forces operations, is rarely, if ever, released to the public. there was a decision not to release this footage. And I know this because we asked for this footage as journalists soon after the surgical strikes were declared. And I remember then, in full admiration for the way the government handled the situation, they did the strikes. There was the Director General of Military Operations who gave a statement, and that was the end of it. But evidently it wasn't the end of
And
it.
it was a very
I mean,
sober statement.
Right.
Very sober statement. Now, the interesting thing is, why is such footage taken? It is taken so that, as you know, so that the army comes back and sees it and then sees, okay, we could have done this differently, we could have done this better, this was our strength, this was our weakness, and so that the next time they do it, they are doing it better. Now, in this particular case, you are actually not serving that purpose, you are serving a propaganda purpose for election purposes. That's not, that's a complete misuse of the whole thing.
Yeah. So another thing which was done in the recent, in some time back, was that all of these special forces operators were identified. They appeared unmasked on television programs, which were done on the basis of a sanction from the government at the very highest levels. Where in the world are special force operatives unmasked, identified, and asked to speak about their mission? It means that they are themselves insecure and they could be targeted.
Not only they, but their families. You just see the killing of Osama bin Laden. Till today, it is not known who are the persons who were involved. Who's the person who ultimately fired those shots? Not known.
Yeah.
And quite correctly. But here we want to use, I mean, we are so callous. They say we are demoralizing the army. Actually, they are endangering the lives of the soldiers in this way. And what the footage showing the footage shows now is not that yes, there was a surgical strike. We know there was. It shows that in the eyes of this government itself, it has no credibility.
Right.
Therefore, they must prove it with a video. Tomorrow they'll come and prove it with a certificate from a notary public and from some forensic lab in Chandigarh that yes, it is genuine footage. This is their self-perception. That's what it proves. Not that there was a strike and so on. That is, we know that.
Yeah. One final question to you, sir. The way the footage was released, the army was not informed, the Defence Ministry was not informed. It was released apparently at the level of the Prime Minister's office. It was released initially to select channels. Some channels didn't get this footage. What does that indicate?
That the government manages those channels. Those are the government's channels. And the government is not is so nervous about truth, about anybody examining it. And they probably feel that, oh, this way we are punishing this person and that person. And if what you are saying is correct, that the army was not informed and the Defence Ministry itself did not know, I mean, then that just speaks about what I have been saying also, that there is no government today at all.
Right.
There is a Prime Minister's office, which is only a propaganda office. There is nothing else. And in fact, there is not a Prime Minister. There is a person who is running around for photo opportunities. So no ministry functions because they are waiting for the PMO. The PMO doesn't function because they are waiting for the Prime Minister who is in the air on events.
Right.
And therefore, you don't have a policy, not for Pakistan, not for China. For Nepal, the only policy is push it into the lap of China. You don't have a policy for Sri Lanka, where a pro-Chinese government was thrown out by the people and is now coming back. You don't have a policy for Maldives.
Right.
300,000 persons, less than Karol Bagh. And there also, you don't know what to do.
Right.
So that's why no policy for Kashmir also. And that's what we should attend to.
Right.
And if I may make just one small point. You see, you say strikes. At that time, I had said this is necessary, good, don't talk about it. Second, this is not going to be the end of even that one problem that you are trying to address, which is infiltration. A very good evidence of that comes in the evidence given by the Vice Chief of Staff of the Army to the Parliamentary Committee on Defence, headed by the BJP's own Major General Kanduri.
Yes.
He said, we told them, these chaps are coming, our soldiers are getting attacked, officers are getting attacked, so please give us funds for securing the perimeter.
Right.
He says, in the budget they have announced 17,600 or whatever crores. And in the allocations, they have not given one paisa.
And that remains a problem.
That
It's-
remains a
it's
problem.
being slowly
So,
done now. Yeah.
so on the one hand, you are saying, I've taught Pakistan a lesson. Now I have done something about infiltration. On the other hand, you are not even allowing the army the necessary funds
To
for
protect itself.
for protecting even their perimeter.
Right.
Forget protecting Kashmir.
Well, Mr. Shourie, thank you so much for speaking to us. Arun Shourie over there very categorically mentioning why he felt that the release of this footage was problematic, and also explaining the context in which he'd made his earlier remarks and how that's been reported and perhaps misreported in some quarters.